Hello, I'm David D. Hilscher. I am a critical thinker, dissident scientist, and I'm here to tell you the truth about science. Something university professors won't tell you, the mass media won't tell you, and certainly those science evangelists won't tell you. Well, I often have an idea and I'll wander around the internet, and sometimes I find a gem, and I found a gem of a website. It's called Closer to Truth. And it is great. And the reason it's great is because if you're a critical thinker like myself and many of people and the thousands of people I know around the world who are critical thinkers, when you watch these videos, you are absolutely amazed at one fact that comes glaring out for those of us who are now beyond these problems and beyond the mainstream science, that in fact, mainstream science is at the end. Why is it at the end? Because when you get to the end of some paradigm, it becomes magical. It becomes amazingly ridiculous. It sounds like a religion. The double talk and the triple talk are amazing. The assumptions upon assumptions upon assumptions that these things are built upon are quicksand, and yet they go on. And you do hear from them, well, it all could be wrong. So these are the symptoms, but when you go and watch these, I could do about 3 hours worth on these videos just talking about where they're going wrong. But let's take a look at a couple of these videos and see what we've got, and let's talk about it.
Size of the universe. And lots of my friends, cosmologists, tell me about multiverse and multi-worlds theories and pocket universes branching out all the time through inflation and various things. You focused on the end of the universe and what happens at the end when all elements in the universe have evaporated. And at that moment, there are only particles there. Space continues to expand, and maybe even more so because there's more and more dark energy, the density of
Space continues to expand. Listen how we're talking, people. If you talk to engineers or critical thinkers, they're just going to people are going to look back on this, and these people are really going to be looked upon as crazy. Now, one of the problems is that they sell crazy, they sell fantasy. They sell things that sound religious because people want to have emotional attachments. They want to imagine two things: that the universe is amazingly complicated and bizarre, and we just little humans are just starting to learn that, and that though people who actually investigate and do these are giant brains. Their brains don't even fit in their head. They're gargantuan. If they went to college at 8 years old, their brains are 50 times bigger than ours. This is in their minds. But their brains are the same as ours. They're no smarter than us because we have a limit to our brains. Yeah, we may just write music like Mozart, but we have a limit. But we fantasize. Listen, he's talking about once the whole universe sort of is just in particles, why they'd only stay in those particles, I don't know. They don't talk. See, look at all these problems. But let's say they do. Well, space continues to expand. No. If you look at the solutions today, look at Borkert, I believe space is infinite. Or at least, something I don't believe in, but is another model, is that it's some great loop in some way. I don't know. Like you start this way and you come back sometime later. That's okay. Again, that's another, but it isn't. Space isn't expanding. Space is a three-dimensional forever, every direction forever, at least with many of us who are outside the mainstream, and we've gone on beyond that. So when we hear this, it's just bizarre. Let's keep going a little bit more.
that's related to the volume of space. So how big does that get?
The volume of space. When he says that, he's not talking about a volume in space. He's talking about the volume of space. This is where these people are. This is what they're talking about. This is the way they talk. To them, this is like normal. And when you guys listen to it, and the reason you're listening to this channel and you've stayed this far is because you're like me. No. No, with the volume of space. Space is infinite. It goes out. Every time we get it, look, every time we get a bigger telescope, what happens? We look into the space where it used to be empty and it's full of stuff. Yeah, I mean, again, I just keep going on here. This is fun stuff.
Well, when you ask that question, it's important to make a distinction or a careful determination of what you mean by that. So the universe has at least 3 different size scales that could be the answer to your question. So let's go through this briefly. The universe has an observable horizon. And right now that horizon is the same order of magnitude as the light crossing distance. So since the
Universe has a horizon. The universe doesn't have a horizon. There's a horizon until which we can see using light. That's the way we should say this. It's being said completely wrong. This is where they mix up. They mix up what they mean by universes. They mix up multiverses. All of these things. They mix words, mix messages.
the universe is 14 billion years old, that horizon size is order of magnitude 14 billion light years across. Okay? So that's the size of the universe that we have today, that is also the size of the universe where we can do experiments and say anything about the contents of the universe. Now, if you ask the question, what's outside that boundary? The answer is more stuff. Yeah. In other words, more universe like our universe that probably has the same laws of physics as our universe, even though we can't officially measure things out there.
And how do you know that?
We don't know that for sure because we can't officially measure things out there. But
okay, so we talked about the universe. He says the universe is this big. This is what we know. The Big Bang. He talks about space. Space is expanding. Yet, what's out there? Oh, well, then he starts talking about it. What happened to the Big Bang? What happened to all those words, all those linguistic constructions that they make, which is the idea of language is simple. I speak this linear flow of sound waves that means something that goes into your brain, and I'm trying to recreate some type of pattern in the other person's brain to try to understand something that I am trying to explain. Look at where they are. They're now outside of that, as if, okay, is that what the multiverses are then? They're just talking, okay, well, when I talk about universe, I'm talking about, well, I mean, they'll qualify it. If I were to ask him right now to qualify that, and he's being very confusing, of course, he's going to weasel his way out of that. Okay, well, there's a bunch of these on here, so I'm going to go to another one. This one is from Max Tegmark, and there is something at 1:30 that is really something I want to take a look at, and let's see where.
Max, when I really want to try to understand reality,
of space from which light has had time to get to us so far.
so what is this?
This is simply the region from which light has had time to reach us here on Earth during the 14 billion years since the Big Bang. And since light can only travel at a finite speed, this is all we can see. And then the million-dollar question is there still more space beyond that or not? And it's funny you ask, because I was at my son Alexander's preschool recently giving a talk about space. And one of his 4-year-old little pals raised his hand and said, I have a question. Does space go on forever? And I was thinking, this is so amazing. This 4-year-old asked a question that I don't know the answer to.
You know what I'm going to say? Shoot me now. He is going to preschoolers talking about these incredible concepts. Even preschoolers ask the question. 4-year-old English speakers, which at 4, they're pretty much considered adult speakers, linguistically, not like Finnish, which takes 14 years. They are adult speakers. They're not exactly hugely conceptual at that age, but they're smart enough to say, if the guy's holding that ball, he says, how does it go on forever? And what does he say? I don't know the answer to that. The answer is yes. It goes on forever. All these concepts, all these ideas are crazy. This is my opinion, yes. This is the opinion of many people. I don't know if it's a majority, but a lot of people who work out the side of the mainstream. But this is absurd. If I was in that classroom, it says, yeah, space goes on forever. That's what it is. The universe is everything. It's not what's in this ball. It's not, if this was the universe, it's not what's in this ball. We would call this the observable universe. Then that's okay. It's a qualification. If you say that, you should stick to it, not just call it the universe. Because then you get questions from 4-year-olds that you can't answer. Why can't they answer them? That's a good question. And you stay to the end of the video, and I'm going to tell you why they can't answer these questions, why they're talking double talk and all that. All right, we're going to go to this one last guy here. I don't want to go on too long here. And his name is Andre Lind, and he will talk also. This is about how big is the universe. That's the general question, but you get so much other gibberish or other verbiage. Okay, let's take a look.
So how do you look at the overview when you...
Andre, the term multiverse has become very common in cosmology over the past 10, 15 years, meaning that there are multiple universes within a larger context. Many people are mystified by this, kind of asking, are you serious?
Well, we did not come to this concept because we wanted. We came to it by necessity. It all started when we started studying inflationary cosmology. Inflation was first proposed as a solution of certain problems of the Big Bang story. And one of the problems was why our universe is so homogeneous, so uniform. Uniformity seemed to be natural because you look to the right, you look to the left, universe is everywhere the same. And it was also very, very homogeneous. Density in average, density of the universe to the right and to the left of you was almost exactly the same. So we did not have an explanation. We came with one, and that was inflationary theory. And then we started studying inflationary theory more precisely. And what we have found that yes, indeed, it explains why the universe looks the same in our part of the universe, in the part which we can see at the moment. But then the same theory predicted that the universe looks completely different at much greater scale. So we, get this simple explanation of uniformity, but we did not notice that we bought something else. And this something else was the theory which tells that at large distances the universe looks completely different.
So much going on here. It's going to come to the conclusion I'm going to give you guys today. He talks about, he asks, well, where does multiverse come from? Well, we didn't want to come there. This is one of the ways you can try to justify, as crazy as all this stuff is, which it is, they're going to justify because, no, well, we didn't want to choose this. And then he goes through the reasons. Inflation. We believe in inflation. Okay, we're going to come back to all of this. And of course, why is that there? Well, that's a problem for because that was trying to solve the problem of the Big Bang. And then they said, we're going to study inflationary theory. Listen to what he's saying. He's saying that they are studying inflationary theory. This is like a house of cards on a house of cards on a house of cards. He doesn't even say we're studying, really the data that we've put the data, we've made our observations, and this is really solid, this is really solid, this is wrong. They're studying theory on top of theory, on top of ideas, on top of this. What he's saying is, in the end, it's very simple, and that's my conclusion for today about how big the universe is and multiverses and the Big Bang and inflationary theory and all of these things and their bad use of language and energy when it should be mass, all of those kinds of things. The reason they are in this problem is because of their initial assumptions of, in this case, redshift. And where does that come? Why is it they think that redshift is because it's expanding? Because they have no model for light. They have no model for gravity. They don't have a model for almost anything. And because of that, they're making this assumption that it's like the Doppler shift. And that's what the redshift is. And of course, it's really weird because we're in the middle of it. Why did the Earth become in the middle of it? And why aren't we off because of the side? They try to say it's off to the side a little bit. But it all comes down to bad assumptions, no model, and then bad assumptions built on that, because without a model, they're just going to start making an assumption. Oh, expanding. That's what redshift tells us. And everything goes from that point. Everything's got its origin from that point. And that, my friends, is why you get these crazy ideas of multiverses. Why you get this crazy talk that the universe, that the space is expanding. That's a double shoot in the head. That's where all this comes from. This way, go to this closer to truth. Listen to this. Use your critical brain. When red flags are coming up all over the place, believe it. They tell you, they'll literally walk us back, like this guy will walk us back to why all they have to come to these conclusions. He says, we have to come to this conclusion because they've made some assumptions without a model. That's it. That's the answer. So, oh my gosh, be my guest. Take a look at this. I don't know, maybe I'm going to do some more on this, but I get so frustrated. I just want to shoot myself in the head. I want to tell the extraterrestrials that will come down, the intelligent beings from other planets that will come here and other places in the universe. I'm going to apologize. I apologize. We're in a paradigm shift right now. And the good news is we've got really good models that are starting to be proposed. It's not just everything's bad and we're going to throw it out. Oh, we don't have anything. No, we do, as I said, over and over and over. What do we have in this place? Infinity. Do we have parallel universes? No, we have parallel microcosms. We live in a microcosm here with one above us and one below us, and more, infinity up and infinitely down. And we can see so far, like these guys say. And are there little things going on down there? Maybe there's beings in all the way down and all the way up. But there's a place for them, and there's a three-dimensional space for them. They're not living in a parallel universe. How does that work? That's magic. It's like saying, right now in this place, there's another David talking about in another language, and who knows? That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. And it all comes again. They don't have a model. And do we have answers? Infinity. Infinity wipes this all away. Infinity in time, infinity in space, infinity in the way things are organized. Get infinitely bigger organizations and infinitely smaller. So yeah, there's infinite amounts of little worlds. There's probably a little world down there and beings on that. But it's not, again, it's unparalleled. So, again, one of my subscribers pointed that out to me as Dave, hey, I like it because you just don't throw it away. We have answers. That's why we're here. That's one of the reasons I have this channel, because every time I talk to people and I gave them real answers, friends just at a party, they're going, they start following me. They got questions and they're satisfied with answers. And I hope you are too. And I know you're a critical thinker. That's why you're watching this. And remember, if you like this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell. These videos come out every few days. Subscribership's growing. My goodness, I'm getting a couple a day, 2, 3, every day. I think we're going to be hitting 1,000 in less than a year. And why is that? Because people want a new voice. They want a voice of reason. It's not me. It's critical thinking. Because there's lots of them. I steal a lot of these ideas. Why? Because I know critical thinkers and they have great ideas. And when those great ideas, I hear them, oh, the Earth's expanding. That wasn't my idea. I adopted it and I believe it because I looked at the data. That to me is the best model out there. So like I say, don't take my word for it. Anybody else's on faith. Stay critical, stay thinking. I'm Dave D. Hilster. I can hope you can see why we are in a paradigm shift. It is falling apart. It looks like a religion, not science. And we've got great models out there. And that's what this channel's all about. Ciao for now.